Thanks, Hugh, and thank you all for making the time. We having a good summit so far? Those weren't enough woos. Okay, that does it. All right, rad. Well, yeah, welcome to this talk. It's called What's New in Apollo Client. And when I'm talking about Apollo Client, I'm using that to refer to Apollo Client, our TypeScript client, as well as Apollo iOS, our Swift client, and Apollo Kotlin, that's used by many Android and multi-platform developers. Would love to get to know who's in the room, though. Anybody here like a full-stack web developer, doing full-stack web development? Anybody here? Nice and high. All right, cool. A lot of full-stack web developers. Any like pure front-end UI? Yeah? All right, keep them up. Mobile engineers. Where are my mobile engineers at? All right. Anybody not doing UI development, but you wanted to just kind of see, wandered in? Maybe you're lost, but that's okay, stay. You're in the right place anyway. Would love to teach you more about this. Is a little about me. Hi, I'm Jeff Oriyama. I have the privilege of serving the engineers behind Apollo Client, Apollo iOS, and Apollo Kotlin as their engineering manager. I also represent Apollo on the GraphQL Foundation's governing board, which I'm very proud to do as well. I am a husband, dad, and amateur baker. There's my family up there, as well as some of my holiday bakes there. I cannot take credit for the Android staging there, though. That was Martin Bonin on my team. So yeah, very cool. And though I get to play show and tell up here and show a bunch of things over the next 28 minutes and 22 seconds, according to the timer, this is really about the passion and hard work of the engineers who have built these things. So proud to show it, but even more proud of the work that has gone behind this by the team. And we love talking about what we do. We love developers. We love serving end users. We love to talk about that stuff, and that's what brings us together here today. So here's a quick breakdown of how we're going to spend our time. Number 3 is going to be most of our time, which is going to be a bunch of slides and live demos for each of the roadmaps of the different clients. And so really excited about that. But I would love to start just by kind of priming the pump here and talking about what GraphQL clients are, what we think makes a good GraphQL client, and what Apollo clients actually are as well. So let's kick us off with a quote from an important document, the GraphQL specification. I won't read it out loud, but anybody here read the GraphQL spec, by the way? End to end? Keep it on your table. I see some expected hands there in the air. Okay, cool. This is, I sum it down to GraphQL is for the people, right? It is for the people. It is for the ones that are going to make use of that valuable data in your services, right? Who are going to use it to do the things that they are there to do. It should delight them. It should, or get out of the way and just let them do what they're gonna do. Because really behind all of those apps that we're making, all of your application engineers, there are people there, and they need that data faster. They need that data in front of them and to be interactive. And so that's what GraphQL clients really are all about. They're on the front lines of that experience. I used to be a teacher, and we learned about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is my kind of cheeky representation of client developer needs. GraphQL clients are more than just like dispatching network requests, right? They are, they do that, but they also have a ton of developer experience, layers on top of it that help you not just make the requests, but do things like caching out of the box, integrate into your favorite view layers or libraries, and also leverage the full benefits of being part of an open GraphQL ecosystem so that they are extensible by default. And all that stuff helps, again, back to this, helps the users do what they need to do, helps your developers stay close to their needs, anticipate their needs, not just for today, but for the future as well. So those are the features that we think makes an effective GraphQL client. And the Apollo client family, just a little about it, we have Apollo client. Not everybody knows that there are multiple Apollo clients. This Apollo client, our TypeScript client, Apollo iOS, our client written in Swift, and Apollo Kotlin for Android and multi-platform development, although, fun fact, we do use that actually in the back end of Apollo Studio as well for service-to-service calls. And behind those tools are other tools. So if you are using any of these clients, you may be using, and if you're not, I encourage you to try out our VS Code extension, our IntelliJ plugin, which is new this year, our Chrome and Firefox browser extensions, and we even have an extension in Xcode, and we are really excited to actually start building on top of that too. So if you have some ideas about the Xcode developer experience, come find me later. few common things that the Apollo clients have in common. We're all MIT licensed open source, Apollo led but community driven. There's our full-time jobs to tend to these things. So we live and breathe front-end GraphQL development all day, every day. And we are coordinated, but not identical, right? These are 3 projects with 3 lineages supporting 3 developer communities. So in the cases where Apollo iOS or Apollo Kotlin or Apollo Client does things a little differently from each other, it's because those developer communities expect different things from their clients. We get the question sometime. So I wanted to cover it in this talk. I won't read this out loud to you, but some common functionalities. The normalized cache is my favorite. It's just, we think it's the idiomatic way to do GraphQL front-end development. And also code generation. We ship native code generation modules in Swift and Kotlin and have a great integration with the GraphQL code generator in TypeScript. And more, obviously. So this kicks off what I would call the client feature speedrun. This is a 30-minute talk, 23 minutes and 56 seconds remaining here. And we're going to cover 3 different roadmaps, stuff that we've shipped since the last GraphQL Summit. I look at this as kind of like a video game world map. I realized that the last talk in here was from PlayStation, so I should have made it a PlayStation game. I'm sorry. But yeah, think of this like the world map. We're going to go to different places, but we are not going to stay there long. I'm going to include some QR codes, so if you see something that was interesting to you, go ahead and take a photo of that QR code, catch up with it. It'll take you to the docs page that's relevant to that or wherever else that we go on our journey here through Apollo client land. Speaking of which, let's talk about Apollo client, our TypeScript client. That's just a face pile of an incomplete list of our contributors over the years, our open source contributors. And the headline here that I want to kind of open up for all of you is better, faster UIs. First of all, Apollo client users in the house, raise hands. I just want to know who's working with Apollo client today. All right, cool, thank you. Yeah, a lot of different ways to make better, faster UIs. React has advanced a ton. The core modules have expanded a ton too. So first thing we wanted to talk about is new React APIs for Suspense. There's a ton of new tools for you out there that are available to you. There are problems and solutions here that we are shipping. So these are a few of the hooks that you might not yet be familiar with, in addition to use Suspense query, which was shipped in version 3.8. There's things like use background query, use loadable query, create query preloader. Each of them has kind of a place in a modern React application. I encourage you to kind of check out that QR code for more information if you want to dive deeper into this subject. We're also really encouraging folks to use fragments in their day-to-day. This is a diagram that I cribbed from an Apollo blog article earlier in the year written by Tyler Goals, whose team found a lot of benefits in switching from using use query everywhere to putting use fragment in their child components and getting fewer use query calls and hoisting them up in their component trees to get a lot more control over the number of network requests that they were seeing in their application. My colleague Gerald Miller gave a great workshop yesterday on this stuff. There are slides and the demo repo available if you weren't able to attend that live, and look forward to perhaps in a few months we're hoping to repurpose that into an Apollo Odyssey course as well in a modified way. So there's plenty of depth in there. Dive deep, check it out, and I hope that you will give that a whirl. We're also really proud to introduce GraphQL testing library. These are just a few snippets of code that I think illustrate the power of this pattern. This is a schema-driven testing approach that is what we think is a lot more powerful than what mock provider gives you today. You can use this today. You can do, and I forgot to put the npm install command in here, but you can do @apollo/GraphQL-testing-library to start getting your hands on it today. This could be its own 30-minute talk, so I'm not going to dive deep into there, but good news, that was a 30-minute talk that was given last month by my colleague Alessia Belisario at GraphQL Conf. It is definitely worth a view if you have not yet seen it. So check out GraphQL testing library. But let's get the hands on the keyboard. I want to show you Apollo Client Dev Tools. For those of you who haven't checked out the browser dev tools lately, it has gotten a fresh coat of paint and more. You'll notice when I hit refresh too, you'll see some nice little loading indicators in here. And again, I'm just going to point out some of my favorite things. All right, good. So I'm going to refresh here and set up the dev tools for real. All right, cool. And I'm going to go ahead and use the search bar and go to playlist query. And just for this. So I want to go ahead and click on a playlist. I'll do my GraphQL jams playlist, and you'll see a little loading indicator there. I just think that's a nice touch. Folks can go ahead and, at a glance, right, it's all about making your developers more productive. They can see what queries are refetching in real time there, right there in the dev tools. If I scroll up a little bit, by the way, GraphQL jams just has all GraphQL themed songs in there. So we got graph, query, mutation. I can't vouch for the quality of the playlist of the songs. I just, it was fun. So when you're inside an individual query, another part of this that I really was excited to show you was you can see what variables were passed to that query. You can check out the cache data that's able to satisfy the data requirements in that query, which I think is really powerful, right? It keeps you productive in the browser when you are iterating and debugging. And for that debugging experience, too, you can check out this options tab that will tell you what options were passed to that specific query, which is really great for kind of figuring out why a certain use query call or a certain hook call is behaving the way that it is. So it's just these great ways that you can kind of be more productive when you're in the browser. Another nice little touch is here, you can actually hover over the version and get the release notes for that version, which is another little touch that we're really proud of. In the Cache Explorer, another convenience factor that was shipped recently is the ability to drill down into other cache entities. So if you see a reference to another object in the cache, you can just click it and get there and go back and forward. This is in the Apollo Spotify showcase, and you can actually check that out and pull it down in the Apollo GraphQL organization on GitHub, Spotify-showcase. Check that out if you want some good examples of how to use Apollo Client, and for that matter, Apollo Router. There are great idiomatic usages of use fragment in here if you want to learn how use fragment is used in an app. There's also a good usage of Suspense. So if you're wondering how to use GraphQL with Suspense, check out the Spotify showcase. All right, first demo done, escaped unscathed. And I will go ahead and swing back to this if there's time. It's just a demo of the dev tools, something that we're going to be shipping in the next couple of weeks. The dev tools working actually inside VS Code. So you can use that as a debugging experience with your iOS and Android apps as well. Really excited to see that coming ahead. But let's turn the page and talk about Apollo Kotlin. Any Apollo Kotlin users here in the house? Okay, I see a few folks. Okay, cool. Well, anybody working with Android developers on their teams back home? All right, cool. So something to take back home as well. I have to come up with headings for each of these. And the heading that I chose for this is pushing the boundaries of multi-platform. Kotlin multi-platform is really coming into its own as a really capable platform. And Apollo Kotlin has been right along with it on the cutting edge of this stuff. There's so many things in here, like compiler APIs and WASM, that I would love to show you. But again, I'll have to suffice for a bullet point for right now. Kotlin 2 was released earlier in the year, and you can expect a lot of great improvements by adopting Kotlin 2. Apollo Kotlin 4 supports Kotlin 2 out of the box, and you can look forward to a lot of performance improvements in your builds just by adopting this. And here are some, I pulled this from another Apollo blog article written by my colleague Benoit, who was talking about the benefits that we saw switching up to Kotlin 2. We've also shipped experimental Compose extensions recently, so if you or a developer back home is using Jetpack Compose, we would love for you to try these out and let us know how that experience works for you for your component development in your Android apps. All right, another demo. Let's go into Android Studio, and I want to show you the developer experience improvements that we've shipped over the past year. So I'm in Android Studio, and I've installed this handy-dandy Apollo GraphQL plugin that you can get from the IntelliJ marketplace today. And here I am in a GraphQL document. And then the thing that, again, it's all about making those developers more productive, right? So they can spend more time thinking about your users, thinking about your customers, and less trying to fuss with GraphQL, right? So one of the nice things here is this is a schema-aware plugin. So it introduces autocomplete right there inside your GraphQL authoring experience. So I can go ahead and know that it's cite. And if I make a typo and I put sit for whatever reason, it's going to show me a nice little error motion. So a nice way to add some guardrails to your developer experience. Every time I'm saving too, it's running CodeGen under the hood. Then we're switching back and forth with the terminal. It's right there integrated into the IDE, which is a lot of fun. Now, another thing I wanted to highlight was in the tools menu, there is a normalized cache viewer in here too. Why should web developers have all the fun? You can also check out what's in your local cache in Apollo Kotlin, and that's true for both SQLite caches and for in-memory caches. And it's searchable and filterable, just like in the browser extension. Okay, and one more thing I wanted to kind of cover and show for all of you was really a GraphQL forward innovation. The GraphQL working groups have been talking a lot recently about nullability and how that solves problems for developers, right? GraphQL has this concept of null and non-null, and we're talking about sort of a third category called semantic non-null. And it can be easy to kind of get lost in the details there, but what I want to zoom in on in this Rocket Reserver application is this line of code here, line 98. You can see when I'm looking up data in my GraphQL response, there are a lot of safe calls in here, right? We're doing null checks all the time. If I see that in a code review, right, I'm always scratching my head a little bit. It's a little bit of a code smell to me, because ultimately, if we're getting back data about our launches in an app that is all about launches, rocket launches, right? Why on earth am I thinking about a null launch, right? Why am I thinking about that? If the only reason it would be null is due to an execution error. I know that as a client developer. I'm willing to guarantee it, that if there's an error, it's just gonna throw. I don't need to look up null. Ideally, that can be solved in a full stack solution, but right now, today in Apollo Kotlin, there's an experimental feature called experimental directives, and you can find this in a lot of different places, but you can import now semantic non-null and catch and other nullability directives to your schema, do some local schema modifications. So I can say in my root query, that launch field is never going to be null unless there's some sort of execution error. I call it semantic, or we call that semantic non-null. And when I save this and run CodeGen automatically, I can go back to my to the actual view, and you can see now I have a bunch of compiler warnings. And you can't see it down here, but it says unnecessary save call. I can actually start removing these null checks from my code. I am essentially telling the compiler, no, this is actually type safe. It's not going to be null, and I'm guaranteeing that as because I know my data model. So it's just another way. We hope you all play around with this. The Android developers in your life play around with this stuff and let us know how it feels for them. We're looking at this closely, and it's an experimental feature, but we want to learn from your experiences too. Also included in this plugin is an automatic version migration helper. So you can actually, with the push of a button, if you're on version 2 or version 3, it'll do like 70 to 80% of the actual manual labor for you to get your code upgraded to the latest version. There will still be some, obviously, manual testing and updating that you have to do yourself, but we're really proud to be able to provide this convenience for users. And a nice little touch that I wanted to highlight is this little touch too, where if you hook in with GraphOS Studio and you get your field latencies, it'll actually suggest and automatically autocomplete a defer directive right there for those slow fields, touching back on the talk that was right here before. So those are just a few things in the Apollo Kotlin roadmap that I was really excited to highlight for all of you. And we're moving on now to Apollo iOS. Any Swift engineers in the house, Apollo iOS folks, or working with Apollo iOS or mobile folks? Okay, cool. Actually, less than I expected. So this is really for you, but if you have Swift developers in your life, make sure to tell them about Apollo iOS here. The highlight here is customization without compromise. Our Swift CodeGen engine was overhauled in Apollo iOS 1.0, and the feedback we've gotten from the community is, hey, we really like this CodeGen engine. We really like what we can do with it. Can you add some more customization and configurability to that? And we've tried to deliver that in ways that offer those kind of levers, but also keep people on the happy path of GraphQL development and what we know is successful in GraphQL client development. So we're going to get right in, and I'm going to show you a little bit of what I mean there. All right, let's get into my terminal here. So here I have my Apollo CodeGen config here, and I'm going to add a new experimental section to it. Let me go ahead and do that. Right here, experimental features, field merging, all. So this is actually a default value. We ship this experience out of the box in CodeGen called fragment field merging, which allows for lookups on the data that feel, like in our nested structs, that feel good for developers. It's an excellent developer experience out of the box. But there are trade-offs, right? So if I run CodeGen, first of all, I won't see any difference right now because I'm using the default value. But if I turn off fragment field merging, and there are other values here besides all and empty, but if I turn it off and run CodeGen again, you'll see that the amount of outputted code is actually less by a significant portion. This is a very small app, a very small schema, and we've already reduced the total lines of generated code by over 200. And what this has produced for folks is the ability to have that lever, right? If they want to preserve the out-of-the-box developer experience, which we think is generally best for folks, go ahead and do it. But if you want to go ahead and turn this off, turn off fragment field merging, or change how field merging works, a lot of folks have reported huge savings in the size of their compiled binaries. So you can see even hundreds of thousands or even millions of lines of code saved just from this one small configuration change. So we hope that you or the iOS developers in your life will make use of this feature, or at least give it a try if it's right for them, and of course give us feedback on how CodeGen is working for you. We're also able to run CodeGen concurrently in Swift now using async await, which can help parallelize or speed up your builds depending on how you configure it. If you want to learn more, there's the QR code, of course. And across the board, in a recent minor version of Apollo iOS, we've improved execution speeds. So who doesn't want a 20% faster app? Yeah. And there's a new Odyssey course too, actually. So if your team is still if your iOS teams are getting ramped up on GraphQL, tell them to check out the Apollo iOS and Swift courses now available in Apollo Odyssey. And for those of you doing VR development, we are now supporting Vision OS as well. So for you Apple Vision Pro folks out there, enjoy. One more thing that we wanted to show you for Apollo iOS is our new pagination module. Anybody dealing with pagination troubles in their front-end apps? It's one of the hardest things to do right? Like, it can be difficult. There's a new package, and I got to take my hat off to Hesham Salman, who's a community member and an engineer at GitHub who really championed this feature, did so much of the work for Apollo iOS pagination. And I just wanted to show you a little bit, dive a little deeper into how this works and why we're so excited about it. So here's a Rocket Reserver app, similar to the one that you were seeing earlier in the Android portion. I'm going to make it a little bigger. And I want you to mind the scroll bar on the right. So if I scroll down, this just has an infinite scroll feature to it. You get to the end of the list. One of the things I'm noticing as I do it is it doesn't feel completely fluid. I kind of reach the end and I got to kind of struggle against the scrolling there a little bit. So I'll mind that for a moment. But how this works under the hood is in Xcode here I have my launch list view. And I'm loading the next page when I reach the end of the scroll state. And in the actual view model, I'm importing Apollo pagination, and I'm able there to use async GraphQL query pager, which is a new class that's part of that package. And it allows you to configure your pagination so that your call sites are super clean. You can use relay style cursor pagination. You can use regular offset pagination. Whatever your backend is providing, this should support. And if it isn't, let us know. We will be glad to hear you and see what we can build for you. But in this page remember now, there's this nice convenience method at the call site called load next. Well, let's say I put on my product manager hat and I say, well, the product analytics show that everybody who scrolls to the end of the list is actually, or who scrolls to the end of one page is actually going to go ahead and load the rest of the list. So if I want to be responsive to those users, maybe I want to add a member called load all pages. And then I can just update the call site with load all, which is an out-of-the-box method in this pagination module. If I save that and update my call site, so instead of load next page, I could say load all pages. And I'm going to go ahead and rebuild my app. And thank goodness that I have an M1 processor so that it goes relatively fast enough for a talk. And when it rebuilds, I'll just show the new fluid pagination motion now that I'm loading all my pages at the same time. Again, it's a super trivial example, but one that I hope showcases how declarative this is and how powerful it can be for your teams doing Swift development. So I hope you'll give this a try. And let's move on, though, because according to the clock, I have 3 minutes and 50 seconds left. And that was the demo. Okay, all the live demos are done. That went okay. I feel like they didn't mess it up. When I was doing the rehearsals for this, it was on Zoom and everything, and it was just struggling because it had like a bunch of simulators running and Zoom and, you know, all that stuff. So that was what's new in Apollo Client. What's next is up here. I won't read all of them out loud. We're super excited to ship a bunch of stuff in the coming months and year. This is what's kind of what's on the cusp. Data masking is actually available in an alpha right now, which we're really excited about. So if you haven't gotten a chance to kick the tires there, you are able to. And there's a bunch of other stuff coming up. All right, I saw most folks have put their phones down from taking a photo of the slide, so we're going to go here. But what's old in Apollo Client? That's the wrong framing, not what's old. What's always been true about Apollo Client. We've had 8 years of this now. We have a huge community of contributors and users, and we're really proud of that. We've been part of these folks' teams, essentially, part of their platforms for quite a while. And this is just an open call for all of you here. We want to be a part of your team, too. Talk to us. Let us know what's working for you. Let us know what isn't. We want to be there helping you solve problems. That is the awesome part about open source, and we want to hear from all of you. We also have a survey that is available in that QR code, but also you can find in our READMEs, or every time we close an issue, we actually also, there's an auto bot that gets on there and says, hey, can you give us some feedback? We want to hear from you. We want to learn from you. We want to help you. And of course, we're happy to help in a lot of other ways too. You can check us out on Discord. We're pretty active in the Apollo GraphQL Discord. In the Apollo forums, we're there. In Slack, in the SuperGraph Champion Slack, we're there. And we're always a GitHub issue away as well. And you can find many of us, myself and my colleagues, in the Apollo Lounge throughout the conference. So I hope you enjoy the rest of it. And I hope you'll say hello and tell us how you're using Apollo Client, or how you wish you could be using Apollo Client if we only did this one thing. And please reach out. Let me know what worked in this talk, what didn't, or whatever it is. But I hope you have a great GraphQL Summit, and I'm really grateful that all of you showed up today. Thank you very much for celebrating this team's work. We're really appreciative of all of you.